for our audience, there is a handout available, which Nicole will link to you in the chat. This is for you. It's pretty much like a self-reflection for yourself and what motivates you to continue working. If you are a person who leads a team and oversees employees, ask them these same questions, and hopefully you guys can have a roadmap to success. Second thing is, drop your LinkedIn profile links into the chat so you can expand your network and keep connected after the discussion. Next up, we actually have a poll question so we can get to know our audience better. If you could pull up the first poll question, please. So this one is asking, what is your current position? Are you part of the C-suite, upper management, middle management, entry level, or board of directors? Awesome, thank you. And then we have one more, it's a poll question, and this one's going to ask, how big is the company you work with? If you have less than 10 employees, does the company have between 10 and 100? Does it have between 100 and 500 or greater than 500 employees? Nope, looks like the last two are about the same, so. Awesome. Love the diversity of this. Without further ado, let's introduce our first panelist, Jacqueline Sensory, who is the VP of Media Revenue and Sales at Hemmings, which is about a mid-sized family-owned business. She is also the chair of Engagement Committee for SBN, who has hosted several events, SBN events, spoken at business schools, and most recently, the Women's in Motorsports Conference in Arizona. Next, we have Kevin Gillis, who is the general manager at Integrity Customs, which is a small family-owned business. He is currently the pro chair-elect and has been part of numerous panels. He's taught 5th grade for 5 years, speaks to nonprofits once a month, and has spoken on multiple podcasts. Last but not least, we have Sean Sawyer, who is the operations manager at Classic Recreations. He is a select committee member on ARMO. He's worked in both small and large businesses and even owned his own shop. He's currently managing 30 employees and is actively rebuilding the company's structure, processes, and culture. So right now, if we can move to the next slide, which will show our agenda. We've done the introductions. Next is the motivation, where we'll cover some subtopics such as benefits, investing in employees, open communication, and overcoming obstacles. As we listen to our panelists today, I encourage you to think about how their experiences and insights can apply to your own roles and challenges. This is a unique opportunity to gain valuable perspectives and practical advice. At the end, there will be time for questions, so please jot them down in the chat or by clicking on the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. If you're feeling shy, there is an option to post anonymously. All right, can we please move to the next slide? There are many benefits from a motivated employee. We decided to focus on 3 of them. The first one, which is increased retention rates. When employees feel valued, engaged, and satisfied in their own roles, they are more likely to remain with the company for the long term, reducing turnover costs and maintaining a stable, experienced workforce. Sean, I'd like to go to you first and get your perspective on some of these benefits.
Let's see, some of the benefits of obviously the more you invest in your employees, the better they're going to return for your company, the better you're going to grow them, be more valuable, be more productive. And ultimately, as an employer or a manager, your job is to grow people. Eventually knowing that someday they might outgrow your company. But if you've built your company culture into these people, they're going to bring it on to other companies, expand their networks, your networks, lift the entire industry. And you're really just, you're building better people to build better businesses, to build a stronger industry.
That's awesome. Jacqueline, can we get your thoughts on this as well?
Yeah, I think that to piggyback off of Sean's point, obviously there are so many benefits to engaging your employees when they feel that they understand the mission statement of the company and they have a part in impacting how the company moves forward. It encourages them from a participation standpoint, and they are much more likely to add positively to ongoing business goals and initiatives that are set forth by the upper management group.
Oh, that's amazing. Kevin, what's your perspective on the benefits and what were your observations from an engaged employee?
I agree with both. I think the challenge, especially I always speak from small business because where I've spent most of my career, and it's very difficult sometimes to, we have all those catchwords like buy-in or ownership, or, I spent a lot of my career trying to figure out how to get my employees to take ownership for either their job, their position, and it slowly started making more sense to me that they need to be more bought in to. I think if they're bought in at an individual level with their job and they're happy and they fit into their culture, and then at some point in time, they will assume what ownership they feel comfortable with within the company. And I think it's each employee is different. And I agree with Sean. I think sometimes we worry about trying to keep an employee, and we try to keep them so hard that instead of motivating them, we're just really holding them down and we're not allowing them to advance. And our industry is only going to grow is if we continue to grow the community and make it stronger and stronger. So I think it's a very fine line between how you keep an employee, motivate them for yourself within your business, realizing that if you really do a great job with that, that person may grow to the point where they have to move on. And then you just have to be okay as a owner or a manager to know that that is true success. If you can help an individual improve themselves and continue to become a better version of themselves, even if it means leaving your company and moving on, that's true success as a manager or an owner.
Wow, that's amazing. Sean, I see your head shaking up and down, or nodding up and down, sorry. I sense you have experience from multiple different size businesses, including your own shop. Do you want to have your employees leave, like if it's better for them?
Well, you always have to look. I'll circle around. I'll back your question up a little bit. It's less about what you want to do, but how do you grow your people? Again, kind of what I said earlier, our ultimate goal as employers and managers is to grow them to be better people. That's what's going to feed your company. You want to figure out what motivates them as far as, are they just a money person or are they bought into your mission? And if you can feed their love for what you're doing, if you can be clear as a leader what your mission is for your company, what your goals are for your company, and then clearly, not just stand up in front of, give a speech in front of the community about this is what we're doing, these are our goals, these are our metrics, but this is why we're doing what we're doing. This is what we believe in as a company. And you find a way to translate that to your employees to where they believe in what you're trying to build. That's way better than saying, hey, I'm going to give you $50 if you hit that metric. So if you can invest in your people and get them to believe in what you're doing, the sky's the limit. And yeah, it's the downside is eventually they may move on, but that means you've done your job. If they've moved on for the right reasons, if they get frustrated because you're not clear, they get frustrated because you don't have a true direction for your company, that's where you fail as an employer. But if they come to you one day and say, hey, thank you for everything you've done for me, I've got this greater opportunity, or I've grown to the point now where I want to have my own business, create my own product. That's kind of the best compliment you can get as a leader.
Oh, amazing. I love this feedback. So we've kind of like touched on the other topics that we have later in the slides, which is great because everything is so connected. Can we please move to the next slide? This one features open communication. As you can see, number 2 is about company mission and values, which we kind of touched on. Jacqueline, I'd like to move towards you about your open door policy and like, what does that look like in your organization?
Yeah, of course. I think first and foremost, when we're talking about open communication in the workplace, it's really just going to help build stronger relationships. You're going to increase productivity and just create a very positive work environment. So, from an open door policy perspective, making sure that your employees and coworkers don't feel like if they come to you with an initiative or a problem or a solution to a problem that you've already identified from a company perspective, that they're going to feel heard and not shut down. They don't want to feel as though their opinion doesn't matter, right? And that all feeds into that company mission statement and values, and making sure that we're aligning individuals with the overall organizational goals and fostering that cohesiveness and motivational workplace. So there's a couple of different ways that you can always do this. One is asking for input. A lot of times employees don't feel like they can come to a manager because that manager never goes out and personally asks their opinion on something. Sometimes we're waiting for someone to show initiative and, knock on our door and be the first one to come with that. But have we presented it as a safe space for them to be able to present their thoughts and opinions? Providing feedback. So even if someone's initiative or thoughts aren't something that's going to be moved forward, making sure that they always receive feedback, whether it be productive or constructive, it's only going to help those individuals learn, improve, and recognize their strengths. When we're providing feedback, whether it be in virtual meetings, on phone calls, and emails, it allows an employee to express their opinions also and share, ideas freely. Something that we've done internally as a company is created multiple communication platforms where there's lots of chat rooms and ways for employees to ideate together. That has led to very safe spaces and ways where people feel like they can share their opinion and that they're heard. Also, anonymous surveys are a fantastic way to help maybe some introverted individuals or those that aren't necessarily sure if their ideas are good ones, to be able to state, those thoughts and opinions and have people voice, their feedback on there in a non public way. So, but I think us as managers, it takes us leading by example, being authentic leaders and providing and presenting our honest self in the workplace. People aren't going to bring their authentic self if they don't feel like, it's being done on the other side. And, ensuring, I saw that we have a lot of upper management on this call, a lot of CEOs and presidents, ensuring that your management is trained to communicate in an effective manner, right? So a lot of us don't have the time to engage with every individual employee as much as we would like to. So making sure that everyone that physically manages a team has set in place the same mindset, that same policy that you're wanting to go throughout the entire company.
Wow, that's amazing. Kevin, I'd like to pick your brain since you come from a smaller company. Do you have something similar to what Hemmings has?
Yes, probably not as structured. Being a smaller company, I try to maintain an open environment with all my employees. I always try to communicate what decisions and why we make those decisions. I try to include as many employees in the decisions, and just getting them to understand that I manage my people at a high level because I like to go on vacation. I like to be able to leave. I like to be able to go and do things. And if I never let go and I never let them make a mistake or be challenged or run into situations where they really have to use everything they've got at their fingertips, then I can't leave and enjoy myself. And I can honestly say all of my managers right now, when I'm gone, they take great pride in the fact that they were gone, that I was gone, and they kept moving. They kept making decisions because there's no, when it comes down to business, yes, there are bad decisions and good decisions, but the worst decision to possibly make when you're managing is to make no decision. And I always tell my guys, just make a decision, make the best decision you can at that moment, and let's continue to try to move forward. You can't just stop. You can't send everybody home and just say, oh, well, we'll try again tomorrow. And so I think, but believing that and living that, I mean, those are, it's just like one thing I learned about being a 5th grade teacher. When you're standing in front of all those little kids, they're real. They remember exactly what, and everything you say, they take at 100%. So if you say something half-heartedly, it will come back to haunt you. And if you manage your people half-heartedly and you just kind of fling it out there and make decisions, and if you manage your people that way, when you're gone, they're going to manage your business that way. Yes. And then you come back and now you have, and then that's a hard conversation to have, because it's really hard to have a conversation with somebody when you're looking in a mirror at yourself and realize that who you're talking to, you created. So I think it's really keeping everything open, keep the culture, at the right pace, but always being willing to, I'm the first to raise the flag and say, I made a mistake. I'm the very first person. Whenever I mess up, I bring him in and sit down and say, hey, I thought this was a great idea. I'm upset that one of you didn't point out that there was a horrible idea, but we need to work through it. And then that way, when they make a mistake, they come to me not with asking forgiveness. They come with the acknowledgement of the mistake. That's responsibility. You need to be responsible for yourself. The accountability shows up when they also have a solution in their mind. So not only do they present the issue that happened and the problem, they also are working on a solution. So that is where you have top responsibility. Now they're taking accountability. And to me, that's when you really start as a manager. You can step back and think, okay, we're organized, we're working well.
Oh, that's amazing. Jacqueline, you mentioned that if you oversee a lot of people, it is hard to have like one-on-one time with them. Sean, I know you oversee 30 employees. What is your process like when it comes to meeting with people one-on-one?
Well, but before we jump into that, I'm going to piggyback off Kevin and Jacqueline. When everything we're talking about here right now comes back, and you'll hear me talk about this constantly if you know me in real life, you as a leader need to know what your mission is. You've got to be very clear about your mission, your goals. You've got to communicate those clearly to your employees. And like Jacqueline talking about larger companies where let's say you have 500 employees, you don't necessarily have hands-on contact with the guy who's sweeping the floor every single day, but you have direct contact over your leadership team. And clearly communicating, having these conversations with your leadership team, setting those clear expectations for what's acceptable in the business, what's not. You set those core values, and from there, if your leadership team believes in your mission, just like Kevin said, you can step away from that business and trust that your leadership team is going to make decisions based on the values that you've set and the expectations that you've set for your business. And then your biggest responsibility from there is making sure they do that with their direct reports. And, company culture comes from the top. I don't care what anybody says, or there's examples constantly. Every book you read, you see this everywhere, that if you don't have a good culture from the top down, you're going to have rot from the top down or rot from the bottom up. It doesn't matter. But if you can set those clear expectations, it proliferates through your entire organization. And if you can instill that passion that you have for the business into your leaders, and they pass it all the way down to people. So that's my speech.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your feedback. Sorry to be here for planes going over. Great feedback. Absolutely love everyone's processes for open communication, having your open door policy, following the company mission and values, and the accountability. Before we leave this slide, can you please post the poll to see how often our audience meets one-on-one with an employee? I just feel like it'll be interesting since everyone seems to be like a higher management, just who oversees so many employees themselves. And maybe this discussion that we're having today will change their mindset too if they want to improve. Wow, that's amazing, once a week. Bi-monthly is pretty good too. I feel like we meet as a team bi-monthly as well. All right, can we please go to the next slide? This one is about investing in employees, which includes career and personal development, having a work-life balance and appreciation for your employees. Kevin, I'd love to hear your thoughts about any of these topics.
A challenge, investing in employees. I've been, as you can tell by my gray hair, I've been around a few years. And in my early days, even when I owned my first shop and then managing different operations, money was the motivator. I mean, when you did a job interview, one of the top questions was, okay, how much do I make? When's my next raise? I mean, so money was the motivator for years, and it was for me, in my 20s and 30s. And I think, we used to take that, and that was, you're investing in employees, you pay them well, and then you move on. And I've had to slowly start learning when it comes to investing in my employees, it takes a little more involvement. Each employee is in a different situation now. We've gone through it as a nation, as small businesses, we've gone through a lot. And over that time, I've started realizing, like, it's not always just about money. If I have an employee that's always just worried about money, I can promise you that employee is probably not a long-term employee, because they're always going to be looking for that next big paycheck. They're always going to be looking for more money, more money, more money. And there's a limited amount of money that you can pay somebody in all industry, in all businesses. And our struggle as a small company is I don't have an office that has 27 management positions that all my guys can work up to over time. I mean, I've got guys that have kind of been doing the same job for me over and over and over for 20 years. And so how do I make sure they make a good living? They're able to do what they want to do. And what is that balance for them? I don't like work-life balance because that's so different for everybody. I think, if you're trying to balance work and life together, man, you're just chasing yourself. And so I don't try to create that necessarily for my employees. I try to create a life outside of their job, so that their job is, they're healthy in their environment, they enjoy their job, they're creative in their job, they feel like they have value, they have input, that they're investing in themselves at the job they have, and that end goal makes their life better. It allows them to come in and say, hey, my son's got a event tomorrow at 3:00. Can we figure out how I can go? Absolutely, we will figure that out. And so it's as you work through that, investing in employees now is such a different thing, because they look at things differently. They look at their time differently. They hold their time differently. What their time versus work time, different me time, different outside time. It's me, I just had time. I never had enough is my problem. And now you have to just really gauge yourself on how you do that and how you invest in that. I've got an employee right now that came to me a month ago, and he's really looking at maybe wanting to move on and become a police officer. And it's something that he's wanted to do for a long time. It's something he's thought about. He's at a point in his life now where he thinks he can try it. He's a 12-year employee, though. I mean, I've had him for 12 years. I've watched him go from, and that's a hard decision to have. But if I'm going to be grateful and I'm going to be appreciative and I'm going to invest, then once again, I'm going to look up and see that when that young man graduates, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be cheering for him. And I'm going to know that if we did our job right at Integrity Customs, that 12 years of experience with us and everything he learned and everything he got to be engaged in is going to make him a better police officer.
Yes.
It's going to make him a better person in his community. We do a lot of nonprofit work here. I'm involved in nonprofit hands over. I always try to get my employees to go and to have that. And they tell me, hey, can we give X amount of money to this organization? And we do it. And it's just trying to bring, when you invest in employees, investing in their life and investing in know their wife, know their kids, know their families, invest in them as an individual. And then they will invest in the company at a much, much higher level, because now it's more than money. I have guys all the time that get offered money by other shops, and they come in and sit down, and sometimes I'm like, hey, I get it. Maybe I need to give you a small raise and stuff like that. But it's never about just the money. Like I said, I can't motivate those people. And it's not my culture here. Our culture is a family, take care of each other, step up and do it. And so I think investing in employees now is something that we have to do more and more as companies. I mean, it has to be a complete buy-in to invest in them.
I agree with you 100%. I have been fortunate enough to attend the Women's Leadership Forum 2 years in a row. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the last one. Jacqueline, I'd like to ask, what do career development opportunities look like in your organization? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, before I answer that, I just wanted to say, what Kevin said about work-life balance and that it looks so different for everyone is 100% true. The best thing that I have found to be able to do from a management perspective is try to provide the best environment that I can for my employees when they're at work and dedicating time to it, so that when they do go home, they're not taking baggage home with them, right? Negative baggage. You don't want someone to go home with angst from the job and have that carry over. That's a big, that's my idea of work-life balance. Like, let me only positively impact them outside of these walls. But in regards to opportunities for growth, there's a couple of different things that I really like to do. So always creating a clear path and transparency for opportunities that are available. Hemmings is not an incredibly large organization, but we are owned by a larger parent company where there are other opportunities for advancement. So always making sure that everyone within our company is aware of those opportunities. Training and education, I have found, is a big one. So I have sent a lot of my female employees to the Women's Leadership Forum that SBN does. I've gone very similar to Love. The first 2 years I was unable to go this past year because I was on maternity leave, but always making sure that I'm helping to further individuals. I work with a sales team who works very strongly within sales and marketing. So looking for new trends and trainings and certification programs that I can provide them to further their craft, to make them feel very confident in what they're doing. And also just being open and hearing what someone's trying to do. I think that to the point that we've been speaking about, you always want to retain your employees, but if I have a conversation with someone and I'm hearing what they're wanting to do, and it's not coinciding with where they are, I'm very honest about having those conversations. Or if they're wanting to move on, or they're wanting to go to the next level in their career and I don't have an open position, the conversation is like, I believe in you. I want you to do whatever is best for you. I'll do everything that I can. I've been on I've been a reference on a current employee's, job process because I didn't have something for them. And she was an amazing employee, but I'm not going to stop someone's growth for my own personal gain. That does not make me a good manager. That's not, I wouldn't want someone to do that to me. And it's not how, my bosses and mentors have treated me in my role. And I think that in doing that, they've kept me very motivated. They've kept me very loyal. And I think that, and when other employees see you take that route, they see the benefit of staying with the company as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
in the company.
That is for sure.
Awesome. Sean, do you want to share your thoughts on like any of these subtopics of investing employees? Like how do you show appreciation for your employees?
So a couple different aspects, and yeah, I'll piggyback off of that. That when employees see you making a decision that's good for the employee rather than good for the business, every other employee that is not leaving or not moving on, they see that loyalty from the company as well. So you're
Yep.
building that two-way trust. We've instituted a program as far as career development where we're doing continuing education classes. So a lot of our technicians, maybe we've got a lot of younger people, and then we've got a lot of very experienced people. So we're using some of that experience to reinvest in our younger employees. So let's say we've got an employee who's very good at welding, and our people on the assembly floor don't necessarily weld, but they want to learn it because it's a skill in the industry. Or we're going to be doing a class here sometime this year for financial literacy. A lot of these younger employees, I'll have conversations on the floor, hey, what's a 401k? What's a Roth IRA? It's not necessarily a skill for their job every single day, but it's growing them as people, growing them as employees, and showing them that we care more about, how many cars can you put together this month. We started doing some continuing education classes with vendors, like our paint supply vendor coming in and doing, hey, these are new product seminars. We're going to come in and give those to employees. I'd back it out a little bit and just say anything you can do to show your employees that you care enough about them to grow them, not just in their job skills, but in their life. Somebody else mentioned, hey, my kid has something going on tomorrow. Cool. We will, you can take off early tomorrow, and we work a 4-day work week. So, hey, Friday, if you want to come in and make up the hours you're missing, just let me know. We'll put you on the schedule. So probably my shortest answer so far.
That's awesome. Thank you for your feedback. Can we please move on to the next slide? Awesome. So we understand motivating employees does have its obstacles. One of them is identifying a problem and how to solve it. Another one could be having a bad apple in the workplace where it ends up leading into decreased productivity and heightened tension among colleagues. And third is maybe you have insufficient resources. Maybe there's no budget. Maybe there's no classes available for you to grow. I'd like to ask each of our speakers if they have any experiences they'd like to share and how they overcame any of these obstacles. Jacqueline, I'd like to start with you.
Perfect. So I would say, sometimes insufficient resources, especially in the economy that we're in right now, is something that a lot of businesses are facing right now, where demand is growing from a production standpoint. You might not have the personnel to be able to get those needs met, and people have to put in a little bit more time and effort. And so what I have found is, we recently had someone leave our team. They handled a lot of our operational aspects of our sales organization. And I took on something I have not done in 8 years. Anyone in here on the call that's in media, I'm personally going in and like trafficking ads in Google Ad Manager and booking campaigns in our order entry system. Because if I'm going to ask my employees to take more on when that person leaves from a management perspective of things that they were doing, I want them to see that I'm willing to take on more too. It's not just something where, as a manager, you offload the extra work that's going to need to take place when you have insufficient resources, or not the number of personnel that you normally would, but that you're willing to, for lack of a better term, get your hands dirty as well. And it leads to the morale not diminishing, that team or your employees not feeling like they're bearing the burden of something that's going on at like an upper company level. So that would be my example.
Awesome, thank you. Kevin, what's an example of an obstacle that you've overcame?
I'm going to address bad apple. I think we've all had them in business. I've probably been a bad apple at some point in time in my career. You get unhappy and you get in a rut. And there's no one there to help you out through it, and you just have to, wallow in your own misery. We're in a good spot right now because about 6 years ago, maybe, we started really looking at how we hire. And the board behind me has some basic principles that we stand for. And they're kind of the three things that we just kind of look for in an employee. And whether they're going to be a driver or sales, we just have this baseline of what we're looking for. And immediately, if we don't get a good feel for that, then we're not hiring them. And then we go through a process. If I'm putting somebody out in the shop, then there's going to be at least one of my guys that I trust in the shop that's going to be involved in that hiring process, because they've got to be able to they're going to pick up on things that I am not going to pick up. As much as I think I'm involved, as much as I think I have an open door policy, as much as I go out in the shop and talk to these guys, they're going to pick up on those everyday things that takes a shop from being very efficient to dragging them down. And I've had to stand there before and not hire somebody because one of my guys was like, I just don't see the fit. I don't feel confident that this is going to work out the best for us. And since we've done that, now we have had some guys some people can fool you, but we've had one or two here. But that's helped us more than anything. And I've also noticed that sometimes a bad apple may be a person that you brought in. Maybe they don't quite fit. Maybe they're just a little bit different. They might rub people the wrong way. But what I've noticed is when I get involvement, when I've got a guy standing next to me and he's like, yes, I think this guy would be a good fit. Well, then they start noticing some small issues. Well, they're going to have to take responsibility and accountability that, hey, I was in that interview process. I said yes. Instead of just running to me and saying, oh, this guy's got to go. They put a little more effort in. They try a little harder because they had some involvement in that. But I make it really clear with my guys, if you're helping me in the hiring process, if this goes south, you're helping me in the firing process. So, be smart. Don't just think, because that's a problem I've had with managers in the past. They'll hire people and get them in here, then it doesn't work. And like, hey, so-and-so's not working out. I didn't hire them. And they're like, oh, well, I'm like, so just making them feel that responsibility all the way across. And it seems like since we've been we've waited before and had to maybe work some overtime and stuff, waiting for the right fit. Knowing that, nowadays we don't have people lining up at the door trying to work. But when we have someone come in, we just don't immediately say, oh, they're a warm body. Yes, let's take them. We can make them fit our culture. That's the biggest mistake you can make when you hire people. You've got to know up front, that person, the best of our ability, that person seems to fit our culture. And if that is true, then you hire them. If you have any doubt at all, you just can't throw warm bodies out in the shop and hope they work out.
So true.
I think really since we focused on that and really paid attention to it, we've done a much better job. And my guys in the shop are happy because it's not like, how long is this guy gonna make it?
Awesome, thank you for sharing. Sean, you're up next. What's an obstacle that you've overcame?
I'm going to hit all of the above and make the long story as short as possible. You mentioned earlier, I hired in this business probably about a year and a half ago, basically to rebuild the entire production department. And my owners bought it about 4 years ago, and they were so busy fixing the business side that they trusted the people who were running the production department. One, knew what they were doing for manufacturing, two, managing employees, hiring, and there was a warm body mentality. And when I hired in here, it was a very toxic workplace. We had lost a lot of really good employees, and no matter how much money they were throwing into buying parts and equipment, manufacturing was not moving along because the culture was so broken. The biggest thing that we did to make the difference, and I talked about this before, is we set clear expectations of what is the mission of the company, what is acceptable, what is not. These are the values that we live by. And, you read in all these business books about let's make core values and hang them on the wall. If they're hanging on the wall, they do nothing. They're wallpaper. You have to live and breathe these every single day. They have to be something that your leadership team believes in. We hire by this, we fire by this, we promote, we correct everything by these core values. And, it's stuff you'd expect: stewardship, quality work, passion, teamwork, integrity, faith-driven, that you believe in something bigger than yourself. The last one, which I love, of course, because I added it, was, are you in or you out? You either believe in everything that we espouse as the values of this company, or you don't. And if you don't, cool, no hard feelings. If you don't believe in what we're trying to do here, if you're a good employee, you know what? I will help you load your toolbox, write you a letter of recommendation. I'll probably help you find a job where you'll be a better fit. But every employee is not a fit for every position. And once you've set those expectations for your company, your leadership, and then your employees, all of a sudden you find all those gray areas start evaporating. Yeah. This is what we believe in. Like we talked about earlier, once you've established this, your leaders can make decisions without you. And they know what you expect as an owner and a leader. Your employees know, hey, I could cut that corner on this, but man, I know that really doesn't follow our company value for quality work. So, I'm not going to do that. That's not integrity. And yeah, if that happens, I'm probably going to end up in Sean's office and it's not going to go well. So once you've set those expectations, everybody knows what they need to do. And that also, if insufficient resources, our owners bought this company 1 week before COVID hit in a manufacturing business. You can imagine how well that's gone for the last 4 years. So there have been times of thick and there have been times of thin. But now that the employees know where they stand, it's not the gray area. It's not the, man, I don't know if I'm going to have a job tomorrow. They know where we are at any given time. We're very open with the employees. Hey, you know what? Things are really, really good. Hey, you know what? Right now, you guys, we're struggling to get cars out the door. We have honest conversations with them from the top all the way down. And you will be absolutely amazed the difference that makes. Just like that's another way of investing in your employees, that you're trusting them with the honest conversations about where your company is, and they will be so much more bought into the mission of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
Awesome. Can we please move on to the next slide? I believe it's time for Q&A. Jacqueline, I do have a question for you. We understand now that motivating factors vary by each individual, but what have you found to be successful for the team as a whole?
So a lot of times I'll let my team choose a specific reward, let's say, for like a contest that I'm running, like let them dictate what that looks like. Or make, their suggestions. A lot of them, it used to be that we would do like time off, during the summer, but we've recently moved to a flex work schedule, so we don't necessarily do that as much. Sometimes, because I have a team that's national, so they're not all in the same office. So sometimes those rewards like look as though like us getting together for like a virtual happy hour or a time that we're all able to connect and it's not solely revolved around like business initiatives. Those have been things that have been, successful for me. It's hard with a team because no employee is motivated the same way. So incentivizing a team can sometimes be difficult. But getting all of their feedback and if not everyone can agree, then maybe doing one thing for the group that voted for, option A this time and then option B the next time is a great way to fulfill those.
Awesome. Sean, I have one for you as well. Do you think about your own motivations when trying to motivate others in a leadership role?
Absolutely. Because it goes back to that mission. I like to joke around with my guys. It's not really a joke. I'm a true believer in what we do. We build really, really cool cars. I've been building pro touring cars for over 20 years. This is my passion in life. I love building cars. I love building people. I love building businesses. And every decision that I make for these employees, whether it's what vendor we're going to use, whether it's what system we're going to do, is how can I use that motivation and that passion to grow them? Because if I grow them, it grows the business, which just feeds everybody. So yeah, I absolutely think that.
Awesome. We do have a question from the chat. Trina, she's asking, I have 3 direct employees who all work remote as well as I do. What recommendations do you have to help motivate them?
Would you like me to go?
Sure.
So I worked remote for a couple of years. I was a rep for Comp Cams and Metalbrock. Working remote is very difficult because it's very easy to feel like you're on an island. You feel disconnected from what's going on inside. My favorite times when I was doing that job was when we would all get together, whether it was, for SEMA, whether it was going back to Memphis for product training. It's very important when you're working remote, if you want to build those relationships with your other remote employees, plan times, whether it's a virtual happy hour or, hey, we're going to get together for a conference in our industry. Find ways to connect with those people, on a regular basis. If it's every month, if it's every quarter, but those are the things that tie you together to build that personal connection.
Awesome. Thank you. Kevin, we do have a question for you as well. What are some signs to look for when someone seems disengaged and how do you approach them?
Typically, what I start noticing is they're not prompt. They may be coming in late. They maybe go to lunch and they take an extended lunch. I noticed that. So in our shop, we all kind of really work together as a team, and you start noticing them being a little more isolated. And I think the challenge with that is I'm fortunate that we're a small enough shop that within 5 minutes I can walk through my whole shop, and unless I have drivers out picking up delivering cars, I can see every one of my employees within 5 to 10 minutes. I have a shop in Oklahoma City that I'm at 2 days a week. Same thing. You try to walk through the shop, and I really try to stay engaged with my employees and just constantly asking questions. Monday mornings, usually I spend most of my morning going from employee to employee, seeing how their weekend went, and just kind of checking with them, seeing what's going on, and just trying to keep them engaged. But I think for me, it's always been, I truly am an open door person. I don't have a door on my office. I haven't for years and years. I allow my employees to vent. I think the thing I do more than anything is I allow employees to come in and just literally unload. They have to, obviously they've got to come in and set that groundwork in the beginning of like, hey, none of this I'm getting ready to say needs to be written down, talked about. It's just, if I don't vent if I don't express myself or get this out, it's going to come out somewhere. And I've worked really hard at trying to continue that relationship with my employees when they can come and just sit down and say, this is my struggle. This is why I'm upset. I know I shouldn't be feeling this way right now. This is just where I'm at. And I think with that, over time, people have gotten to understand that, they'll come in and vent to me, and then they'll ask for advice, and I'll say, time out. You told me up front you were venting. So I've not been taking notes. I've not really been paying attention to what you're saying, because that's the rule when you came in. If you want some advice, then we need to back up and we need to start over. And it's really helped a lot. My managers, and I didn't, maybe it's just a knack for me. I've got one manager that has really gotten pretty good at not getting his feelings hurt or getting upset when one of the employees just needs to unload. But I think that's helped keep most of my guys off that edge. My cell phone, all my people have my cell phone number. They know they can call me any time of the day for whatever reason. And to me, that's, as a small business. Now, of course, I'm talking about a business that has 27 employees in one location, 14 in the other. I realize there are some boundaries that I easily fall into as a small business that some bigger companies could not. But even if you're managing 15 people, if you're engaged with those people, if you're always in tune to them, and like Sean keeps saying, you walk the walk. Some of the worst bosses I've ever had in my life is they were the best talking box for the culture. And then they walked in a different realm. And if you really want to manage your people and see success in them, then you have to walk the walk. You have to, because they're not, half the time my employees aren't paying near as much attention to me when I'm talking as they are when I'm doing. And when they see how I'm acting with somebody, if they see how I'm putting out something, they see how I made a decision, they may never heard that conversation, but they saw my actions, they saw how I responded, and that's what they remember. I can talk and talk and talk and talk. Believe me, I can wear you out, but it's my actions. And that's where you get the buy-in. That's where because I do the same thing. I vent occasionally. And I've got 2 or 3 guys that have been with me. I just lost my longest employee. I hired him in 1986. I got married in 1985. So next to my wife, the oldest relationship I've got, he finally retired. And the last 2 months has been an adjustment for me. I used to be able to go into his office, sit down, and just let it go. And that's it's sad that I don't have that, but it's made me appreciate myself more for allowing my employees to have that. So I think you just got to be open and real. I mean, it's because they're always watching. Your employees are always watching. They're going to see how you walk through the shop. If I walk through the shop mad and I'm upset and I don't explain to them why, guess what? Later that afternoon, I got a bunch of mad, upset employees out there and nobody knows why. So it's just got to be open.
Awesome, thank you. Kevin, we have a question for you in the chat. What are those values behind Kevin for those interviews?
Okay, so where did we go? So communication. They have to be able to be a communicator. They have to be able to express themselves. They have to be able to communicate, because if once they get into the shop and they're within that environment, if they don't have the ability to raise that flag, if they don't have the ability to communicate what's going on and to feel like that their voice has value, then that's going to be the first hiccup within our culture, because we're a very communicated business. We communicate back and forth. The second one, and this is a bad play on words because our name is integrity, but integrity. And when I say integrity, I just mean that they walk the walk. When you're interviewing people and you listen to them, they tell their stories, they explain to things the way they do their things. You can pick up real quickly on their tones, their mannerisms, and how they want to portray themselves, that they're real. And then the last one is more of a presence. It's how they present themselves. it's all about, it's more about how they brought out to us. Can they communicate? Do they stay within themselves? Are they trying to sell me day one? Are they trying to sell me that they can do this job immediately? And then, where do they stand as an individual? How solid are they? It's more of a feel and a vibe that we've learned over time. And anybody that wants, I've got a book. I'll have to go pull the book out that originally got me going down this road 6 years ago. I'll be happy to share that book with any of you guys if you reach out to me.
Awesome, thank you. We have 2 more questions. One speaker said he hires for 3 things, but I didn't hear him say what they were. Can we get clarity?
Do what now?
I think that's what he was just speaking to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next one, we have, how about ways to motivate the employees for professional growth? Specifically, employees that don't naturally desire to. For example, annual learning objectives, etc. Assume these employees often aren't bad apples, though. Any thoughts on that?
So like they have a multiple of bad apples, or?
They're not bad apples.
I think it comes back to you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yes.
As a leader, as an owner or manager, you provide these opportunities for people, but you will always have, let's call it 50% of your employees who are just happy being where they are. They may want better pay, but if they're not investing in themselves, grow themselves as employees, you can't force it. You can put incentives. You can say, hey, if you get these, if you get all your ASEs, we'll give you a bonus. You can offer this stuff, but there's no way you can ever force an employee to do that. And that just, they're outing themselves as to their character and their value as a long-term employee.
Yeah, I've discovered over the years, my employees appreciate me as a manager at a higher level whenever I deal with the bad apple and remove it.
Yes.
Instead of allowing me to make excuses, to keep letting it happen, to keep them, because that sooner or later, it's like the overall thought is like, well, he's really good at his job, and I know he makes the company a lot of money, so they just put up with it, and they keep putting up with it, and they keep putting up with it. I've never had an employee come in and tell me like, oh man, you shouldn't have fired that guy because he was making you a lot of money. They don't come in and say that. They appreciate the fact they appreciate the fact that, hey, this was causing, because at some point in time, the bad apple costs everybody, not just the company, but each individual. It affects all of us on how we work. And then that moment of positivity, everything that we appreciate is slowly just nipped at and destroyed. And sometimes I have found that this is why I think it's critical to know your employees, not just them, but kind of their families. I've had guys that they haven't had a problem with the company, but they said something to a girlfriend, a wife, a brother, or somebody that they got upset about, and it's just that constant. They go home and it's like, no, what's going on? Why are you letting that? That's why you just got to develop and know your employees. Invest time in them. You can give them money, but if you invest your time in them, they will give their time back to you.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that real quick. Once you've set those expectations, you definitely need to follow through on the discipline aspect of it.
Yeah.
I go back to when I had my shop. I had one employee who was extremely talented, but very poorly motivated and very negative. And I allowed it to go on and on and on, convincing myself, hey, he's just going through a rough patch. I can turn him around. He's just hard on money. I can help him out. And it ended up poisoning several other employees. So your employees will appreciate you more for addressing that negative employee directly and handling the situation, whether it's correction, whether it's termination, whether it's, hey, you're just in the wrong spot, but handle it. Don't let it fester.
Yep. Very much.
Awesome, thank you. Jacqueline, do you have any last thoughts you'd like to share?
No, I couldn't agree with Sean and Kevin more. And I just want to thank you both for sharing some of your insights and thoughts with me, because it allowed me to add some tools to my chest that I can use in management also.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
As we conclude this discussion, please remember that inspired teams are the heart of every successful organization. By fostering a culture of trust, recognition, and growth, we empower our employees to achieve greatness together. Let's continue to nurture and support each other on this journey to even greater success.
Thank you, guys.
If you have any questions about volunteering for SBN, Pro, ARMO, or any other networks and councils, please reach out to Nicole. If you're also interested in participating in next year's virtual education series, please reach out to either of us. Thank you. We hope you have a wonderful day.
Hey, guys, everybody be safe.
Thank you, everybody.